Zohran Mamdani beat former New York governor and political dynasty Andrew Cuomo in the primary election for New York City mayor, a win that's been called the biggest upset in New York City modern history by political strategists and news outlets alike. And while much of this success is attributed to a strong on-the-ground effort, including knocking on over 1 million doors, a big part of the success of his campaign and getting his platform out there for people to see was his social media. Because just a few months before his win, not many people outside of his Queens district, where he currently serves as an assembly member, had ever heard of him. Other political campaigns like Andrew Yang's and Kamala Harris's have leaned heavily on social media too, but Mamdani's strategy hit different. So in this video, I'm gonna break down what made his social media such a force in the lead up to the primary election, starting with him being in all the right online places and doing it correctly, the authenticity in his content production, delivery, and messaging, and his very strategic and intentional collaborations. Before we get started, I just want to say that I'm not here to argue or debate the politics of the campaign. I'm here to talk about the strategy behind bringing the campaign forward on social media. The nature of everything we're about to get into is political because it does follow a political campaign after all. And I know we all have strong opinions about politics, and I'm down for a conversation in the comments, but please keep it kind and respectful. Now that that's out of the way, let's get started. To really push a political campaign forward on social media, you need more than just an iPhone and a content creator or social media manager. You need a team. And I know this because I've worked social media for a political campaign here in New York a few years back. Because there's a lot of moving parts to the social media strategy of a political campaign. You gotta have the manpower and quick turnaround capability to stay responsive and relevant to the things that are happening in real time while maintaining high quality. Which is why the Zohran campaign worked with Melted Solids, an agency that focuses on digital content for progressive campaigns and has also previously worked with other progressive campaigns and organizations, and yeah, they delivered. We're gonna get more into that. The first point I want to mention and why Mamdani's social media was such a force in the lead up to his primary election was that he was showing up exactly where he needed to. Not only was he active on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and X, he used each platform in a way that matched its unique tone and user base. I'm gonna break down the actual content in my next point, but right now I want to zoom in on where he chose to be on social media and how the approach was tailored to each platform. On Facebook, where his older audience is more likely to be on, he shared media coverages, community updates, and his policy stances. It's very clear that his team knew that this is where all the moms, dads, aunties, and abuelas get their news and their politics. By the way, they were sharing it on there. On Instagram, where his Gen Z to millennial audience is, he shared all of the former, but also used strategic collaborations, which I'll get into in a bit. And he relied heavily on a video-first approach, which was really smart given how Instagram Reels yield the most reach compared to other content types. On TikTok, where again, his Gen Z to millennial audience is more likely to be on, he kept that same energy with video-first content that obviously plays to the platform's strengths. And on X, where his late Gen Z to early, middle, and late millennial audience is at, he shared the same content that he did on these other platforms, and he also responded directly and immediately to discourse around his campaign, like this one, which was so simple, but so good. Now, obviously, being on the right platforms and making sure the content he was sharing was in accordance with each platform language and audience demographic wasn't the only role in having such a strong presence on social media. What really propelled his campaign across New York City and honestly beyond was how culturally fluent, authentic, and community rooted his content was. His team leaned hard into authenticity in the content messaging and delivery of his campaign, and they did this in a lot of different ways. One was by weaving in humor and fun when talking about his platform policies and his opponents.
I'm freezing. Your rent as the next mayor of New York City. Let's plunge into the details. More than 2 million New Yorkers live in rent-stabilized units, and their rents are set by the Rent Guidelines Board. The board is made up of 9 members, and the mayor appoints each one. Doing this. Eric Adams' board has raised the rent every year he's been in office. Makes sense for a guy who said, I am real estate. Currently, 8 of Adams' 9 appointees' terms are up and could be replaced tomorrow, and that's exactly what I would do. Rent freezes have happened before. De Blasio's board did it 3 times. I would do the same every year, only appointing those who understand that landlords are doing just fine. Last March, the board found that landlord incomes rose by nearly twice the increase of their expenses. The median income for a rent-stabilized household is $60,000 a year. Any rent hike could push them out of the city. For those landlords who need a little extra help, there's a city fund they can apply to. So here's to a new year, a new mayor, and the same rent.
And although it was an unconventional approach, it was a really good way to take on political content just because, one, it grabbed people's attention considering no one else in the race was doing it. 2, it simplified the complexity of politics by making complicated policies easy to follow and understand, which made him feel accessible to everyone. And 3, it lightened the heavy load of politics and made the very system that voters struggle under feel less difficult to overcome with him at the forefront.
My team says I move my hands too much in these videos, so for this one, they're staying in my pockets. The other day on the subway, I met a New Yorker. But get this, they vote in California. I know this is true for many of you. You're Democrats who've chosen not to vote here because you believe your vote counts more elsewhere. Every 4 years, you vote absentee from your parents' address in Philly or 3 apartments ago in Atlanta. But come on, you live here. I get it, I do. Keep them in your pockets. Especially after this last election. We all wanted to defeat Donald Trump, and New York felt like a lock. But in many ways, this election, Trump's back on the ballot. We have a choice between Andrew Cuomo, funded by the same billionaires who put Donald Trump back in the White House, and our campaign, who will tax billionaires to make the city affordable. It's a referendum on where our party goes. So in just this one instance, ask yourself, WWDFGD, what would a disgraced former governor do? Well, Cuomo changed his registration immediately after not having lived here for more than 30 years. So if he's voting from his new address, so should you. With just single digits between us and Andrew Cuomo, your vote can make the difference.
And what I personally appreciated about the humor in his content strategy, was that it was done in his own lane. Like, he didn't hop onto trends like the lime green brat stuff that was going around social media last year, which to me was less pandery and cringe. And it casts a wider net because it's not a joke you have to be in on. And I think because of that, the content is also going to age well too. Another thing Mamdani and his social team clearly leaned into in his content messaging was his sincerity and the fact that he's ultimately a working class New Yorker who's trying to advocate for everyone in the boroughs that share the same reality, which is obviously a substantial amount of the New York City population. And they honed in on this by using very specific content delivery formats like street interviews.
Did you get a chance to vote on Tuesday?
I didn't vote.
And why did you not vote?
Because I don't believe in the system anymore.
And did you get a chance to vote on Tuesday?
Yes!
And who did you vote for?
$1 million question. Trump.
Trump. Donald Trump. Well, actually, early voted. I voted for Trump.
Hillside Avenue in Queens and Fordham Road in the Bronx are 2 areas that saw the biggest shift towards Trump in last week's election. Even more residents didn't vote at all.
They like Trump because they don't want the Palestinian, the brothers they killed, the war in Ukraine. Yeah, the Democrats giving all the money on the war. This is no good.
The swing is because people want lower prices. They probably believe that Trump will give them that.
Market price,
Energy, gas.
La comida. Food.
Most of these people are working families. They're working 1 to 2, 3 jobs, and rent is expensive. Foods are going up, utility bills are up.
And that's your hope, to see a little bit more of an affordable life?
Absolutely.
You voted for Democrats in the past?
I have.
And what would it take for you to vote for a Democrat in the future?
Being able to pay attention to the regular Americans and their economic needs.
They should make economics the forefront of their campaign. People were not really feeling it in their pocket. Like, if you're speaking the things that people want to hear about, I don't care what color you are, I'll vote for you.
You know, we have a mayor's race coming up next year, and if there was a candidate talking about freezing the rent, making buses free, making universal childcare a reality, are those things that you'd support?
Absolutely. You'd have my vote all day.
My name is Zohran Mamdani. I'm going to be running for mayor next year.
Wow.
Yes, sir. Wow. And I'm going to be running on that platform.
I'm gonna vote for you. Your energy is...
Thank you. My energy is getting up to inflation.
Multi-language content.
भाई और बहनों, इस इलेक्शन में सिर्फ 20 दिन बचे हैं और चॉइस मेरे और एंड्रू कोमो के बीच में है. La gente de Nueva York siempre hacemos todo lo que podamos. Pero en estos días, por mucho que trabaje uno, la vida en esta ciudad es carísima.
And videos of him quite literally walking and talking through his policy platforms across New York City boroughs.
We have just begun our walk through the entirety of Manhattan. We're at Inwood Hill Park at the tip top. We're outside because New Yorkers deserve a mayor that they can see, they can hear, they can even yell at. Good, bro. Election's on Tuesday.
Tuesday!
Thank you.
Ultimately presenting him like less of a politician and more like a peer. And all of his content was perfected with some really high quality production and intentional editing. Like, it was very clearly professionally shot and also tightly edited. And I actually came across this tweet that pointed out the thought that went into filters used on Mamdani's content, specifically noting that every video used the same soft, humanizing tone consistently. It crafted a world around him, an aesthetic, almost utopian one. Close shots, warm tones, delicate pacing. It framed him as the delivery vehicle for a better feeling reality. Beautifully cinematic. Now that strong visual identity and authenticity then extended to who he tapped in and collaborated with. Mamdani partnered with recognizable voices with strong ties to the New York City community. People like the Kid Mero, a Dominican internet personality from the Bronx who went canvassing with Mamdani in Washington Heights, a part of New York City known for its Dominican population.
What up with you, man? Sure, you know. Yo, man, look. Keep on getting it, Playboy.
Next mayor, baby. That's the next mayor right there. We lit. Ah, shit. Come on. You know, man. We ain't say no. This is New York City. Come on. My dog. Say, come on, man. Organic.
That's what he's running on, man. It's making the city affordable for us, bro. I had to, like you said, I had to dip to Jersey because I have 4 kids and I couldn't afford to stay where I was at. You know what I mean? I love it here. I love coming outside and seeing my people, seeing my food, hearing my music. You know what I'm saying? And I wasn't able to do that as a born and bred New Yorker, bro. That breaks my heart.
Now we're like, what's going on? This is my community. I remember when you couldn't walk in these parks. Now look, I could come here, sit down and enjoy, but I'm being displaced because I can't afford to live here.
Yeah.
I gotta go learn how to swim so I can live in the water on the sea. Yeah, because this is what it is.
So listen, man, when you go to vote, rank my man #1.
AOC.
Hello everyone. This is Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, and I am here loud and proud to rank Zohran Mamdani #1 for mayor of New York City.
SNL cast member and New York City resident Bowen Yang.
We're so lucky to have Zohran as a candidate. Let's give him all the support he needs. Let's make New York City more affordable for everybody.
New York City content creator Cassie Wilson.
People seem unhappy with me, and I don't know why. Can we have affordable rent? No. Can we have fast and reliable buses? No. How about universal childcare? No. Can we have cheaper groceries? No.
Actually, yes.
Mayoral candidate Zohran Mamdani?
We can have all of those things in New York City.
Tell me more!
As mayor, I'm going to freeze the rent for more than 2 million rent-stabilized tenants, speed up the nation's slowest buses while eliminating the fare, roll out free universal childcare, and open up city-owned grocery stores with guaranteed lower prices.
But how are we gonna pay for this?
Well, freezing the rent doesn't cost the city a dime. We can eliminate the fare by better using existing revenue and taxing wealthy corporations, and the infrastructure to speed those buses up doesn't cost much.
Wow!
But wait, there's more!
What?
We'll redirect some of the $145 million we're set to spend on corporate supermarkets to open up city-owned grocery stores instead. And we'll work with the state legislature to tax the rich to fund universal childcare.
And even his opponent, Brad Lander, who he cross-endorsed with.
Hey,
good morning.
how's it going?
Please go second.
No, I insist you go second.
How about I go first and you go second?
Well,
We both love New York City.
and that's why it's so important to not send scandal-ridden, corrupt Andrew Cuomo to City Hall.
New Yorkers deserve so much better than a disgraced creep.
Agreed.
Zohran, you've done a remarkable job building a historic grassroots campaign for a New York City all New Yorkers can afford.
Brad, you've been a principled, progressive leader in our city for years.
Early voting starts tomorrow, and we both know what we need to do to save our city from Andrew Cuomo. You want to tell him?
You go first.
Yeah, you go first.
Let's do it together. We're cross-endorsing.
These collaborations weren't just about cosigns either. They tapped directly into each of these people's followings, which add up to over 10 million people on Instagram alone. And yes, I did the math on that. Essentially adding more visibility to Mamdani's campaign. And because these collaborations were done with familiar faces, they made these campaign posts feel less like ads and more like shared community moments. And I can even testify to that as a born and raised New Yorker myself who came across these pieces as I was scrolling social media. Now, I want to be clear, social media isn't the end game when it comes to running for office. Like, there's so much more to it. And again, like I said earlier in this video, I've seen it firsthand having worked social for a congressional campaign here in New York City myself. But when every other part of your campaign is thoughtful and dialed in, social media can be one of the strongest forces you have in your corner. And Mamdani's team clearly know how to use that force correctly. So yeah, that's my breakdown on Zohran Mamdani's social media strategy. My name is Crystal and I'm a freelance social media specialist. And on my channel, I talk all things social media, so news, culture, and 101s. If that's something you're interested in, definitely hit the subscribe button because there's more to come. Till next time.